Hi there. Hi. Thank you for being here today. Today I am going to share the challenges that I faced on the Rawtill4 diet, and I'm going to talk about some of the different vegan diets that are out there available. Well, there's a lot of ways to be vegan. There are people who abstain from eating animal foods strictly for ethical reasons, and they eat things like potato chips and Pepsi because technically those things are vegan. But they're not doing any favors for their health because they're eating highly processed, what I call junk foods. And they may be helping out the animals and helping out the environment by not being a participator in purchasing those foods, but they're not doing any favors to their body. So what I'm going to be talking about are what we consider healthy plant-based diets. And if you do a little research, you'll find that the plant-based diet is the healthiest way to eat for your health. The diet that I'm on is called Rawtill4, and it's raw food for breakfast, raw food for lunch, and then a cooked vegan dinner. There is a diet called 80-10-10, and that's a strictly raw diet. So it's considered a little bit more of a difficult diet to do. One, because you are eating only raw foods. And two, it's economically, it's more expensive. So if you're eating strictly foods from the produce department, and you're hitting your caloric needs, so you're eating a lot of those foods, that can be pretty spendy. The third vegan diet I want to recommend is called the starch solution, otherwise known as the McDougall diet. And Dr. John McDougall developed this diet. I think he's been a doctor for 30 years. He treats patients. He has retreats and clinics. He does sell some things, but what I want to say about Dr. McDougall is everything that he has that's available, he offers for free online. So yes, his retreats are expensive. If you want to go and learn how to cook and go to the lectures and all of that, it's not cheap. But all of that is offered for free online. The recipes, the education, it's all there. He really, truly wants to help people. And at his retreats, he will ask his clients if they have a story, a testimony to share. He will record that and put it on his website. You can Google Star McDougallers. He's got a lot of pages and pages and pages of testimonies, videos, and written testimonies as well. So if you can think of a disease, he's probably got someone on there that has been cured of that disease or that it's gotten better being on his diet. It's a high carb, low fat, vegan diet. All of these diets are, because they try to incorporate around 80% of your calories from carbs. And carb isn't a dirty word, guys. It's become that over the last couple of decades with the popularity of Atkins and paleo. But carbohydrate is just another word for fuel. And when you start thinking about your junk foods, those types of carbs, like your cookies and your cakes and your candies, yes, they're not good for you. But carbs in their natural form, so when you're talking about fruits and vegetables, when you're talking about, or even cooked starches like rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, pasta, these types of things, as long as you watch the ingredients and try to get a good product, these foods are good for you, and they are high in carbohydrate, and our bodies are comprised of millions and trillions of cells that require carbs. So 80% of your calories coming from carbs, 10% coming from fat, and 10% from protein. And that's the number one question people will ask when you become a vegan is, where do you get your protein? And my answer has become, I get it from my food, because plants all have naturally occurring protein, and they have it in the perfect amount that our bodies require, and that goes for fats as well. So 10% protein and 10% fat. The main challenges that I faced on the Rawtill4 diet, I'm going to talk about 3 of them. The number one challenge that I found right away was hitting that 2,500 calorie mark. So in the Rawtill4 world, there's a lot of emphasis on hitting that 2,500 calories a day. And you might think that's not a big deal because you can really eat. And that's how I felt. I thought, well, I can really eat a lot of food. That's not going to be a problem. But you have to remember, when you're eating plants, they're lower in calories. And so you have to eat a lot of them to hit that mark. And that was really difficult for me, but I did it. I pushed through for the first 60 days. I really forced myself to hit that 100 calorie mark. And the reason they stress this importance is because if you are carbing up, you're hitting that 2,500 calorie mark, you're not skipping meals, you're eating 1,000 calories for breakfast, 1,000 calories for lunch, and between 5 to 1,000 for dinner, you're going to be full all the time and you're not going to have cravings. And this works. I eliminated my cravings for junk foods immediately on this diet. On day one, I was not hungry. In between meals, at where I work, there's donuts and candies and cakes and all that kind of stuff all the time. And I was able to walk right by it. No problem. Why? Because my cells needs were being met. My caloric needs were being met. My nutrient needs were being met. And so this is why they emphasize that 2,500 calories. Also because the body does have caloric needs and it has nutrient needs. And if you are eating 2,500, and this is for women, 2,500 calories, your nutrient needs are going to be met if you're on a plant-based diet. And you can start to give your immune system. Guys, you have to remember that our immune systems have a job to do. And if you're giving it the tools that it needs, it's going to be able to do its job, which is to heal and to heal the body. And so that 2,500 calorie goal for me was very difficult. I would really struggle with that. I felt like I was force feeding myself. I would just barely get done with breakfast and have to turn around and eat lunch. And I wasn't hungry. It was really, really difficult. And so, I did it for 2 months, and then I realized that I wasn't going to be able to sustain this diet because I wasn't enjoying my food. So like anything, if we're not enjoying what we're doing, whether it's your exercise or your work or your family, if you're not enjoying those things, it's going to be hard to stick to it. And so I knew this. I knew that I had to enjoy my food if I was going to stick to this diet. And the benefits, the healing benefits I was experiencing, I did not want to give that up. So I didn't want to give up the diet, but I was really struggling with getting in these calories and it wasn't getting any better. I was really tempted to quit. So what I ended up doing was, number one, I tried to start eating as early as possible in the morning and then backed my lunch up a little bit. So that window between breakfast and lunch was bigger. That helped a little bit, but I was still really struggling. And so I ended up backing down my calories a little bit. So instead of 1,000 calories for breakfast, I was shooting for more between 600 to 700. I was still satiated when I was done eating. I was full. I was satisfied. I had a lot of energy, as I do on this diet. Tons of energy, so much energy. I'm going to do a whole video about energy. That's on my list. And I backed down my calories from lunch. And another thing I started doing was sometimes at dinner I would make extra and I would take that the next day and eat that for lunch instead of raw. So I wasn't doing Rawtill4. I was doing raw cooked sometimes, or raw cooked raw. I was mixing that up a little bit as well. So that's what I've done so that I could enjoy my meals. And I do enjoy my meals and I am satiated. I'm not hitting that 2,500 calorie mark every day. Some days I do, some days I don't. So that was number one. Number two was salt. So Rawtill4 is a very low sodium diet. And I was a big salter. And so that was a really big challenge for me. But with time, your palate does change, and I was told this would happen. It didn't happen quickly for me. It took a long time. It took me a couple of months before I really started to appreciate the flavors of foods, but it does happen. So be patient with the salt. You can have a little salt. They recommend under 1,000 milligrams per day, so you can salt your food. Just got to try to keep it as low as possible. I really loved ranch too, and that's really high in salt, really high in MSG, and I know I still miss my ranch. I have some recipes for a ranch substitute that are raw and healthy and plant-based, and they're pretty good, but I do miss my ranch. But that's okay. The third thing I really struggled with being on this diet is just being around people that you love that are sick, or even strangers that you can look at and tell they're sick just by looking at them, and feeling like you've got the answer. And, you know, you either try to share things with people and they don't really care, or you just kind of give up and you don't feel like people want to hear it, so you keep it to yourself. And my best advice for that is something Freely says quite a bit, and that's just to get over yourself. You know, don't be ashamed to try to spread this message. If you feel like you've got the answers to try to help somebody, don't be ashamed and not share that. Share it. It's up to them whether they want to listen or not, but you can plant that seed. Okay, guys, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.